Hey guys, Jeremy here with Simple Life. Today is June 1st, 2018, and we're going to start a new series on this channel. We are going to do a build along. Now, this is not my idea. A lot of you guys have been asking for this. I would never have thought of this on my own, but I really like the concept. So the whole idea is that we're all going to be building a similar style knife, basically the same knife at the same time throughout the course of June. I love this concept. Now, the knife that I've kind of chosen to base this first one off of is going to be a simple kiridashi. I've actually got it drawn up right here. You can't see it because it's overexposed, but at the end of this video, I'll have a picture of this knife, and if you want to, you can go ahead and just pause it and screenshot it and use that as a template. If you want to come up with your own, that's totally cool too. Also, for those of you who support me on Patreon, I will have this template as a downloadable file, so you can just download that just as a way to say thank you for your support. But whether or not you want to build this exact knife or something similar to that, totally cool, whatever you feel like doing. But the concept, the whole idea is that we'll all be working on the same project together at the same time and kind of in real time. I think it would be really neat. Also, a huge benefit for this is that if you are a person who's never made a knife before, you know, you're right on the fence, you're into knives, you watch knife making videos, but you've never taken that step, this is a great opportunity because you're going to be doing it with a whole bunch of people, you're going to be doing it with me, and we can kind of go through this whole thing together. Now, I've never done anything like this before, so we'll have to see how it goes. But what I'm thinking is that every Friday we'll have the next part of the build come out. So, you know, right now this is kind of the announcement for it. You'll have some tasks that you'll need to do this week and get ready for next week, and there'll be the next steps, and then essentially you'll have a whole week to complete these steps. And then the idea being that at the end of June we've all got these knives finished up. Hopefully you can maybe send me those knives. Maybe I'll do a new email address like buildalong@homesteadknives.com or something, so you can send those in to me, and then maybe we'll do some type of a live wrap-up video where, you know, we can do Q&A and kind of talk about the process, what we've learned, what we did. Maybe in that live video we can share some of the pictures that you guys have sent me of the knives that you've made. But I think this is a really cool idea. The steel we're going to use for this project is going to be a file. I'm using a Nicholson file. That's actually an old file of mine. I use this one for testing the hardness of my blades, but I'm actually starting to wear it out because right out of heat treat, before tempering, the knives are harder than the file, and it's actually it performs poorly. This thing's pretty much trash now. So I'm going to toss this. Well, I'm not going to toss it. I'm going to turn it into kiridashi. That's what I'm going to use. You can use whatever you'd like. I try to stay away from the really cheap Chinese files. There's some files when you use them on mild steel, the teeth break off and it's no good. But what this looks like is what you have to do is over this next week, you have to find yourself a file and then whatever tools you can come up with to make this knife. For this project, you're not even going to need a drill. You can, if you'd like to put a lanyard hole in there, you'll obviously need a drill for that. And when I'm building this along with you guys, I'm not going to be using my belt grinder. I'm going to use as rudimentary tools as I can. So next week we'll get into how to anneal this file, how to soften it up, make it workable. Once we're at that point, we should be able to use a hacksaw to cut this out if we can. Angle grinders, if you have them. You might have a belt sander. You might have some nice woodworking tools that could work very well in this as well. You know, ultimately when you're making a knife, you always want to use the best tools that you can to make the work fastest and more efficient. But to kind of build along with you guys, especially with new knife makers and people that are like, I don't have all your equipment, I'm going to do this fairly much old school. Really, this entire project could be done entirely by hand. Another thing you're going to want to get is some way to heat this up. The first step we need to do is anneal it, which means make it not hard. We need to make it workable. I'm going to try one method is actually putting it into my wood stove. I'm going to stoke up my wood stove, get it good and hot, throwing this in with the coals and just letting it all cool down together. That should anneal it. I've had my stove so metal gets red hot in there, so I'm hoping that's going to work. You know, maybe even a charcoal barbecue could work, or charcoal briquettes and a hairdryer or something. Propane torches sometimes will work. A lot of times it's hard because it's just too small of a flame, but oxy-acetylene torch if you have access to it, or even instead of the propane, if you can get brazing fuel, because that burns at about 1975 Fahrenheit. It's a little bit hotter than propane, so keep that in mind. For next Friday, you need to have some type of a heat source. Obviously I could throw this in my oven, my kiln, do that, but I want to try and keep this simple. I want to go back to the roots. As a person who's just got a shed in their backyard, maybe even not, maybe you got a patio in an apartment complex, but you've got a couple small tools. Can we make a knife? That's kind of the point. If you've made your own little small coffee can forge, awesome. Use whatever you can. If you want angle grinders to profile and cut it out, that's totally cool too. And then the way that I'm going to put the bevel on here is going to be with a file. So we're going to build a file jig, file it in by hand. But really my goal is to be able to make this simple knife along with you guys using as simple tools as we possibly can. I think this is really exciting. Let me know your thoughts, guys. And again, at the end of the video, pause it. You'll see this picture. You can use that. But let me know what you think. Really excited, guys. This is pretty cool. You know, this whole sense of this community that we have and the way that social media and the YouTube and the internet's kind of brought like-minded people together. To me, when I heard this idea that you guys suggested, I was like, you know what, that is just maximizing that entire concept, and I absolutely love it. I think this is going to be really fun. So next Friday will be the next video in this series. We'll kind of get started here, so get yourself some tools. I'll put a list of some tools I think in the description below to help you out, and let's get on this. Let's make a knife together. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Cheers.